You're listening to The Simplified CEO, the podcast that shows you business does not have to be complicated. So grab a coffee, get comfy, and let's show you how you can get success in every area of your life the simpler way. Just before we jump into today's episode, I have to give today's sponsor a shout out. Now, you know, here on Simplified CEO, we are all about the simple life in business. And I know one of the main areas every entrepreneur wishes was simpler was the bookkeeping. Well, it can be with today's sponsor, Xero. This is an accounting software I have used for years, and honestly, it's made it so easy for me to keep a track of everything. It automates manual tasks, meaning I'm not losing hours to admin, and it can be done from anywhere using their fantastic mobile app. So if you're looking for a simpler way to keep on top of your bookkeeping, go and check out Xero today using the link in the show notes below for a special offer. Now let's get back to today's episode. Hi all, and welcome to the Simplified CEO podcast. I am Claire Bartlett, your host, and I am all about making your life and business simpler. And today I am on a topic that is controversial, but people don't talk about it enough, but they think it all the time. And that is answering the question, can you actually be happy in business? Now, first of all, I want to take you back and talk you through my journey with this question. So I have been in business for over a decade now. And when I went into business, 100% I thought I could be internally happy in business. And then my opinion of that question changed as my business grew, as I got more involved in the world of entrepreneurship. You know, it can very easily take over your life, and you can completely lose sight of that balance or that purpose and mission of the business in the first place, which for me, as you know, was having flexibility to be a present mum. That was the whole reason I went into business in the first place. And if you fast forward, I think 5 or 6 years, I had really started to lose sight of that. I was working all the hours that were available to me in the day. I was missing bedtime. I was running to do the school run and then running home to get on my laptop. I wasn't enjoying any of the moments that I was so desperate to be present for in the beginning. I'd got the bug, right? I'd got bitten by the success bug where I thought I had to keep pushing for more and more success. And ultimately, it turned into me waking up one day, dreading the day ahead of me, and realizing that I was deeply unhappy. I was seriously unhappy with how I was spending my days. And when I had that realization, I thought, what the hell am I doing? I am the boss of myself. I own this company. I can run it however I choose. And yet, this is how I'm feeling about it. This is how I'm spending my days nonstop, never looking up from the computer. You know, the business had become my everything, and family and my free time and my freedom had all become second to that. And I wasn't okay with it. It was time for a change. So, if you had asked me that question in that moment, can you be happy in business? I would have answered no. But here's the thing, in that moment when I had that realization, I was like, I can either continue as I am, be deeply unhappy, and become one of those really miserable but hugely successful people, or I can pull it all back. I can realign myself and my passion and my purpose. I can bring back the reason that I went into business in the first place. And I can remold this business into something that I'm actually passionate about and proud of. Because in that moment, I had everything I thought I wanted on paper in regards to success, financial success, you know, business success, brand awareness, all of those tick list items that you have that mean that you're successful in business. I'd ticked them all off. I was where I wanted to be in business, but the entire rest of my life was suffering because of it. So I want you to ask yourself the question today, when was the last time that you felt genuinely happy? Because honestly, when you are an entrepreneur, no matter how far you distance yourself from it, you're one of the same, you know, and if you're not happy in your personal life, then that impacts your business. And if you're not happy in your business, it impacts your personal life. So it's really important to ask yourself the question in every area. And I want to dispel some happiness myths in business, because There is such a toxic positivity around entrepreneurship. Have you ever heard the saying, love what you do and you'll never work a day? I mean, come on. We all love what we do. That's why we go into business doing it, right? Because we're passionate about it. We want to share it with the world. But does that mean that we are never going to have a tough day in business? Absolutely not. But what it does mean is that we have that passion that hopefully will carry us through those tough days and make them feel a little bit less tough and make us be able to push through to the next time. But to try and unrealistically achieve never having a bad day in your life and never feel like you're really working, it is unachievable. So we have to go into what we're when we're looking for happiness in business with realistic expectations of what that can look like, right? And we have to understand the difference between like fleeting happiness and sustained fulfillment. And this was probably the biggest shift that I had to make because when I was chasing happiness in business before, I was chasing that next big contract, winning that next financial goal and that hitting that target or winning an award. Those were massive highlights for me in my career. And yes, they brought me absolute joy and happiness in that moment. But that happiness didn't seep through to the rest of my life. It was like, yeah, this is amazing. I'm going to ride the coattails of this for a few days. And then I'm going to be back in the grind, not having the happy home life that I had hoped for, always craving the next thing in business, never allowing myself to just be content and be happy in business. And all of it was just draining, drains your energy. So when I had this realization and actually decided that what I wanted was a sustained like contentment and fulfillment across every single area of my life, that changes everything because you are no longer chasing that quick fix of happiness and just doing the tick boxing exercise. What is the next level of success? What's the next thing to prove to myself that I'm successful in business? You're looking across the whole board. And when you realize that grinding, working incredibly hard now, grinding every day, the hustle culture, and if I just do that for the next 3, 5, whatever years, then I'll be happy at the end of it. If you stop buying into that and realize that you can have that contentment and that happiness today, it's mind breaking. And that's what happened to me in that transition. And that is what I want to talk to you about because you can absolutely, truly be happy in business, but it takes changing your mindset from that hustle culture, from that chasing the next big thing to the simplified CEO mindset, to understanding happiness comes from the simple things and what will actually truly bring you happiness. Is it having a 7, 8 figure business, or is it having a successful multi six-figure business, but being able to do every school drop off and be there for the school plays? Or be able to go for a midweek lunch date with your girlfriends, like where is the happiness and the joy element coming from in your life? So, first, we're going to talk about what are the silent killers of happiness and joy in a business. These are, I've already spoken about, going for those massive tick boxes and just constantly chasing the next thing and buying into that hustle culture. Ugh, hate it. It's so soul destroying. Never being able to see the end. You achieve something, you're just constantly pushing for the next thing. It's never ending and it is exhausting. But alongside that, there's these like secret silent joy suckers that we all so easily get trapped into. So I want to highlight some of them today so you can go away and assess whether some of these are silently and secretly stealing your joy in your business. And absolute number one is the comparison culture. Like getting on Instagram and you in the beginning you think, oh, all of these people are so inspirational. They're a couple of years ahead of me in business, but they're doing what I want to do. I'm going to follow them. I'm going to learn from them. I'm going to enjoy watching their success. Soon enough, it can very easily turn toxic where actually the jealousy comes out. You start comparing yourself. You forget that they're 2 or 4 or 6 years ahead of you in business. And suddenly it's all about why you aren't achieving the same things as them. And it becomes really soul destroying and it eats away at you. But you don't even realize that that transition has happened. That was a really critical thing for me, is assessing and doing a little sort of clear out of my Instagram and my other social medias. Who was I following that actually wasn't bringing me inspiration or motivation or joy anymore? Who were the profiles that I would constantly be going to check for updates on, but that only when I looked at the updates brought me negative energy, like, oh, look at them, they're away again, or look at them, they've won another award, or, just whatever negative energy comes up for you when you're looking at these profiles. You don't need that negative energy in your life. You need to clear them out. Either block them or just unfollow them altogether. Get them out of your feed because it's not serving you in any way. Your feed should be full of beautiful customers, inspiration, potential clients, other people. You want to build yourself a community of entrepreneurs for sure, but you want it to be full of positivity and high energy and something that you enjoy spending 15 minutes, half an hour a day in, because you need to be in there for the engagement. You need to be, it's a community aspect. So you need to be spending the time doing that, but you want to all be high vibe. You want to come off it smiling. One thing that is always on my feed is cat videos and animal videos in general, actually. Love them. They always bring me high vibe. They don't inspire me, but they do motivate me because they bring up my energy. They bring a smile to my face, and then I can move on with my day. Um, but yeah, anyway, that is definitely a silent killer of your joy, is when you are just comparing yourself to others in the industry instead of using it for inspiration and motivation. Next is, and I suppose really this sort of falls into it, but it's when success metrics that aren't yours and you are trying to fit yourself into them. It's when you're chasing six figures or seven figures or eight figures, whatever it is, but because everyone else is, or because that's what you've been told or you believe you should be chasing next, not because it actually aligns with your life and your vision for yourself. So often I see everybody talking about, yeah, well, I want a six-figure business. Why? I always ask my clients, why do you want a six-figure business? Because there's so many things to consider, that actually being able to say that you have a six-figure business does not mean anything. You could have a six-figure business, but you could spend six figures getting there and you have no money left. There's no profit in the business. It's just a label. And people, I know, love to put a label on themselves. But when it comes to your business, you need to make sure that the only metrics that you are chasing, the only goals that you are setting for yourself, are ones that will add value to you. They're helping you move forward closer to your personal vision, not because the internet is telling you that's the next thing to do, not because your competitors are doing it. Again, all of that just feeds and breeds negative energy. And again, the should trap. I hate that word so much. I should, or I'm doing that because I feel like I should, or I thought I should. You should not do anything in your business. You know, don't work evenings because you feel like you should. Don't be on every platform because you feel like you should. You need to be intentional with how you're spending your days. You need to be intentional with where you're spending your time and energy, who you're spending it with, and what, again, your goals and tactics are for your business and for your personal vision. Because if you are doing what the community, what your peers, what everyone else is telling you that you should do, then where is the happiness for you in that? It's not aligned with you at all. And another one is lack of boundaries. And hello, I know this one is a big one. This is something that I still struggle with. I'm not saying that I have all of these sorted, 100%. These are like daily battles for me, but boundaries is a huge one. And what I realized is, in the beginning, when I first went into business, I felt like I had to be contactable like 24/7, because I felt like I needed to prove that I was valuable to them, that I was worth the money that they were investing to work with me. I was so scared of losing a client. So I would answer them at any point of the day or night. And it became quite like a friction between me and my husband. We'd be sitting on the sofa watching something at 9 o'clock on night, and a client would text me and I'd be writing back to them. And my husband would be like, "What are you doing? Like, be present with me, watch this film," or whatever it was. And I was like, "Oh, no, no, it's only take me a couple of seconds." But he was so right. Yes, it did only take me a couple of seconds, but where were my boundaries? I just honestly, I didn't have any at all. And then when it came to me wanting to implement them and realizing that this was an issue, right? And I had to sort it out, then the fear I had of how people were going to react when suddenly they couldn't contact me at 9 p.m. Or phone me on a weekend, whatever it was. And yes, there were some clients that had been my clients from the beginning who were used to that service. So I just had to very gently say to them, I'm really sorry, but literally, I'm setting boundaries now, and that is my family time. Please feel free to contact me at any point, but don't expect to reply. I will reply during working hours. And there were a couple that sort of struggled with it or were like, oh, can you just answer this one thing though, because it's urgent. Um, and occasionally I would cave, like, I can't lie, I wasn't 100% perfect, and I'm still not 100% perfect. But enforcing the boundaries as much as you possibly can and then being comfortable and, intentional with if or when you break them. I suppose that's the point, being in control of the boundaries. The biggest step for me, and honestly, I almost cried, which told me everything I needed to know. But I used to go on family holidays and I would always take my work phone. I have 2 separate phones. I get comments on it all the time, like, when you get them out and everyone's like, "Oh, why have you got 2 phones?" Intending that one of them is naughty, but they are promised just a work phone and a personal phone. It's one of my boundaries, right? Having them separate. Um, but yeah, I would always take my work phone on holiday with me. And in the first few years, I would take it literally, I'd go out with the family. Well, it was just my husband, go out for the day on day trips and whatever. And I'd have my work phone with me, like crazy. Then it graduated to I would take the phone, but it would stay in the hotel and I would just check it, on an evening, make sure nothing dramatic had happened. And that felt like a nice compromise to me. And then I remember one of my staff members saying to me one time, like, "You are exhausted. It had been a crazy year in business." And they were like, "I am not allowing you to take your work phone with you. We're going to leave it in the office drawer." She had my personal number. So she was like, "If anything happens, like, I can still contact you, but you do not need to take your work phone with you." Guy, and oh, this is so embarrassing to admit. I actually cried. I cried because I was so scared about something happening and me not being able to respond to it. Oh, like, I can't believe it now that, like, it was that ingrained in me that I needed to just be able to respond at any point to anything. And yes, I text her a couple of times. I think it was a week holiday. I text her a couple of times just checking in. She was like, "Claire, everything is fine. Stop stressing. Like, get on with your holiday." And when I came back, the phone was still in my drawer. Barely, like, barely even any phone calls had come through because obviously everybody knew, all my clients knew that I was on holiday. That was such a breakthrough for me, realizing that actually no dramas. Even if there had been dramas, the team were there to respond to them and I could have that complete boundary, that full separation. And it was the best holiday that I'd had in years. So, boundaries are a huge one. You have to be comfortable with them, set them according to what you are happy with. Some people are more than happy to work on evenings and they prefer that to the day. That is grand. If that works for you, then that's great. But don't feel like you should be available 24/7. Set those boundaries, set that separation, and then stick to it. And finally, perfectionism. Okay. Perfection does not exist. It doesn't exist. I have a beautiful saying I say all the time: done is better than perfect. Because if I waited for everything I need to get out there, everything I'm launching to be perfect, honestly, none of it would ever get out there. And the sooner that you realize that perfectionism does not exist and actually it's just a procrastination tool, the quicker then you can move on and get that balance back in your life. Because when you are searching for the perfect, whatever it is in business, it's purely that you actually have deep rooted fear on whatever it is that you are putting off. If you are wanting to launch a new product or a new service and you're waiting for it to be absolutely perfect, really, that is, you need to listen to that and pick up on the fact that that's actually telling you that you're just nervous about launching it. And the sooner that you realize that, the sooner that you can take action and cut through the noise of trying to be perfect, then again, the quicker that you can just be happy and realize that nobody's expecting perfect apart from you. Perfection does not exist. There is nobody, no matter what level of business that you are, that doesn't still make mistakes, things that aren't perfect, systems break, links break. It happens, right? It happens to the best of people. So stop trying to make yours absolutely perfect because it doesn't exist. It's impossible. It wastes your time and your energy, and it sucks your joy when you are constantly chasing something that isn't even possible to achieve. Okay. Now that's all the negative things that is sucking the joy. So how do we bring the joy and the happiness back into business and your wider life? Well, the first one is it's all about sustainable happiness, right? Sustainable contentment. And it's about intentional integration. I've used the word being intentional quite a lot through this podcast because balance, one, does not exist, but two, it's the wrong word to use here because when we're talking people, work life balance, it is implying that there is a constant battle between the two. One is always trying to compete with the other one. They're like clenched fists, and one of them is always winning, and you're trying to balance them perfectly on scales. That isn't how it, one, is realistically possible to be, but two, it's not how we should have it. I work to being intentionally integrated between my work and my personal life. And that means that I design how my work fits around my life and how my life fits around my work. So one of the key things for me that was always the most important was flexibility, being completely flexible with my time, absolutely owning and controlling my time to be able to do whatever I wanted to do whenever I wanted to do it. If I want to go for a midweek spa break, I'm going. If I want to go and see my daughters play, I'm going. Like whatever it is that I feel like I need or want, I want to be able to do it. So for me to do that, I could never have a structured working day. I couldn't say I work 9 till 5, Monday to Friday. You can't contact me out of those hours. I won't be at my computer out of those hours. That was never going to work for me. And also, that's trying to fit me into what the world tells you should do. What does work for me is having not really like it's like a structure to deviate from. I love that term from Danny Wallace. So, yes, Monday to Thursday, I tend to be at my laptop. Those are my sort of core working days, but I am completely flexible on them. So, I will have a longer lunch because I really need that break from the computer. I'll go for a walk or, catch up on the bake off, like whatever it is. And then I will sometimes work later into the evening if I need to. And that works for me. I'm happier with that. If I need to have a day off, I'll have it. Sometimes I'll work on a weekend, but it's not negatively impacting my personal life and it's not negatively impacting my business life. They're both working, intentionally together. They're free flowing and they fit perfectly. Everything that gets done that needs to in business and everything that I want to and need to be there for in my personal life is also completely accounted for. And it's when I realized that they're not competing anymore that made that just so much easier. You can do whatever you want. You can make it work for you. You are the boss. You are the entrepreneur. It is your business. You work it however you want to work it. And then making sure that your values align, right? So for me, like I said, one of the key things for me was flexibility and control and freedom of my time. That was absolute, like the top value and priority for me was having that. So I have built the business, I've designed the business today to work around that. And that's what I completely lost sight of. I'd lost sight of my values and my purpose for the business. And I paid the price personally. Like I was so stressed and anxious all the time. I wasn't sleeping properly. I had headaches constantly. And I was just a bit of a grouch. Like it really, really impacted me negatively. And as soon as I realized that and I started making the steps to change everything and realign myself, everything felt lighter. And also, it makes it so much easier to make decisions because is it aligned with my vision and my purpose? Yes, great. If it isn't, it's an easy no. One of the things that made a huge difference to me was searching for the glimmers in the day. So, like the micro joys. Stop only chasing huge goals and huge big wins and only, allowing myself to feel joy or successful in those moments, and actually looking for the tiny things in the day. If I get a beautiful testimonial from a client, like, oh, hold on to the feeling that it gives you, and that can carry you through the rest of the day. Or if I get an extra special cuddle at bedtime with my daughter, like, look for the tiny glimmers, because the more you look for them, the more you find, which I love. And actually, they are everywhere. And that's when you find them, that's where the feeling, like the true feeling of peace and contentment, come in. And that is really what we should all be looking for. It's not the highs and lows of happiness and then unhappiness, and yeah, big wins, amazing, and then crashing back down. It's about being steady and being having a wonderful contentment that underlies everything that you do in life. Because once you have that, you can't crash any lower. Yeah, you can have peaks of excitement and happiness, and they're brilliant, but you don't need them. You don't crave them as much as you did before. Um, and finally, give yourself the permission to pivot if you need to change your route if you need to realize that something isn't fitting in with the intentional integration, it's not working, or a client isn't, bringing you the energy that you want in your business. You know, give yourself permission to, once you acknowledge these and notice them, to do something about it. Take away the negative energy, the root cause of any issues for you, and really align yourself with, I want to be high vibe, right? I want to be high energy. I want to enjoy my time in business and in personal life. This is the standard that I'm setting for myself. And if something is negatively, putting this at risk, it's gone. So, yes, 100% you can actually truly be happy in business, but it takes a mindset shift, right? It's about simplifying things. Stop chasing other people's visions of success or what you should be doing, and really truly asking yourself what it is that you want from your business and from your life, and how you can make that a reality for you. So, absolutely start searching for those glimmers. If you are into journaling, which I adore, write down the glimmers every night. And that is a huge way, because, like I said, the more times you switch onto it, the more you'll notice them and you'll find them. But also, it ends your day on such a beautiful note. Like, you go to bed and go to sleep smiling because you're remembering all those beautiful glimmers in the day. And when you are particularly having a tough day in business, you can read through them and it instantly lifts your spirits. So glimmers is a top one that I really recommend that you start doing. Clear out all negative energy, clear out your social media feeds, get rid of any toxicity, any jealousy, anyone who isn't bringing sort of light and motivation and inspiration, get them off your feed. And really ask yourself the questions, when was the last time I was unhappy in business? When you know that, you can assess what was bringing you the happiness in that and what has taken the happiness away since then. And then take action. Don't sit there and thinking, yeah, I'm unhappy in business and I don't believe I can ever be happy in business. You can. You just have to take action. So, let me know in the comments. Come and find me on Instagram, the Claire Bartlett, and let me know what glimmer you have found today. I really would love to know your glimmers of sunshine and sparkle. But also, if there's anything that has, been sapping your joy, and how you're going to take the action to change that. Thank you so much for joining me again. And I absolutely love hearing from all of my listeners. So please do get in touch. And I just want to thank our sponsors. Finally, the link is in the show notes if you want to go and see their amazing deal that they have currently, Xero. It is the best accounting practice. And so if the accounts are one area in your business that suck your joy, which it is for so many people, then go and check out how they can help you bring the joy back into that part of your business. Have a great week, everyone, and I'll speak to you soon. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. If you are ready to make your life simpler, then don't forget to check out today's sponsor, Xero, the accounting software that is ready to supercharge your business by automating routine tasks, giving you quick access to your financial data, and helping you get paid up to twice as fast using their online invoice payments. So if you are ready for a simpler way to keep on top of your bookkeeping, go check out Xero today. Get their special offer using the link in the show notes below.